With My Hero Academia ending in less than a month, I think it's finally time to get that open world My Hero game. Now, there have been a lot of My Hero games. There's of course one on 3DS, tons of mobile games, because obviously that just makes sense in terms of Japan's obsession with mobile games. We had some fighting games, obviously Deku, Bakugo, and All Might and Todoroki made an appearance in Jump Force, but we've never had a open world game, and I honestly feel like My Hero would benefit from it. This series is so chock full of potential with the possibilities of a game. Now, you could go the customization route of having your own, create your character. However, I feel like that would be more in line with like a MMO or an RPG, but just having, a game where it's like either an original story, or if you want, you can just retell events from the main game of Deku and his class, along with like characters like All Might, Aizawa, going through it. And I think it would be very, very successful. Now, in terms of inspiration of like how this could be, obviously, when you take Deku into account with how much he has grown since this series has started, Black Web is such a big traversal mechanic combined with like Fajin and like it's crazy to the extent of what could happen. You could just have the way Marvel Spider-Man 2, or I guess just the Marvel Spider-Man series, takes that traversal and just go to town with that. I also feel like things like destruction would kind of need to be a thing. So a lot of early 2000s superhero games would have that. Nowadays, a lot of superhero games don't really have destruction. I think the last one that I can think about would be Web of Shadows, just because obviously with modern technology is just a lot harder to process and all that. It would just be such a blast to traverse with these characters. Bakugo flying, incorporating all the different accesses, because he's just such a character with such great movement. Having some of the city, freeze with maybe Todoroki's ice, blasting buildings away with like All Might's punches trying to take down a bad guy. Like it is absolutely insane that this is not a thing. Floating trash cans, cars, civilians away with like Uraraka's ability. I did want to bring up that one game that is not official or licensed, and it's just a fan game, which is I believe MHA Beyond. It's just like a cute little sandbox. You just it's still very in development. Obviously, it's like just people's own time going into creating something that they just want to make. The potential that has of just being Deku powering up and then shooting up into the air or running hundreds of miles in like a second is it's crazy. I think what I like about MHA, and some people might disagree with this, is I think a lot of the side stories that aren't the main plot of My Hero, so more so the movies, I think they're really good, and they incorporate a lot of aspects of like what would happen if there was a superhuman society. And I feel like this game, if treated well, could be another huge factor in adding more depth to it. And now what I'm asking for is like a really, really big impossibility. We've seen, with like things like Naruto, Dragon Ball, obviously those two are just gigantic monuments of anime, and like the fandoms are just, it's just a different level, right? It's been out longer, especially Dragon Ball, like it is the godfather of anime. Makes sense, right? Yes, it has a lot of money, so they can make all these games, right? Like, not just the fighting games, but like Kakarot and the Naruto. I mean, bro, like that series is just still surviving, even with like what some people would say is Boruto's disappointment. It still lives on, and that original story in Shippuden just helps continue to make money, and it's insane. So if this truly is the end of My Hero and there isn't like a sequel series, not including Vigilantes, I think it was a really amazing show, and it just, obviously the fandom is an issue, but it opened up tons of roads for future shows to, become more mainstream, and it's confirmed. So I feel like it really, really deserves it. Of course, another big aspect of this, please, battle damage is, and I'm so happy that the show gets this so well done, is battle damage is important. Obviously to anime, makes sense because it shows like the, monumental power or the damage that is being put out. But not just that, when it comes to like a superhero story, it's also just integral, and it's been a thing for years. Obviously in terms of gameplay, the best, in my opinion, that implement that have been the Batman Arkham games. I made a video about it. Marvel Spider-Man series is getting close, but it's still limited by not having the battle damage be integral to the plot. So you gotta cut It doesn't stay with you. It makes sense because again, that the Marvel Spider-Man games are in the span of like weeks, months. I'm not exactly sure. While with Batman games, it is just one night. But one thing, you know, My Hero does well is just show the absolute destruction to their bodies and their suits. And it's so fucking cool, man. I've been obsessed with it ever since I was little. Like, just imagine the thought, right? You have like, you know, the choice of having like the story Deku outfit. And it just gets more destroyed as the game goes on. And, you know, at the end, he probably has the typical just pants, no shirt. Throughout the game, once you beat it, you can choose, oh, you know, what percentage of damage did you want. You can also have obviously a pristine suit, because I know some people just like having pristine outfits throughout the entire game, which is weird to me. I don't know. But again, options, that's very important. And man, I mean, please, this is not going to happen, but man, I would absolutely adore being able to play as Deku, Bakugo, Shoto, Uraraka, Kirishima, Farappy, All Might, Aizawa. Now, in terms of villains, that's another big thing about MHA is that, like, well, you know, it's not just about the heroes, it is about the villains. And while I think it should have been integral a little bit earlier than what it was in the story, that's a big factor. And like, that is a different gameplay, because obviously when you play as villains, you gotta do heinous things, right? So like, especially when it comes to killing, you have to be more graphic. So obviously if they were to implement the villains as playable, you would have to up the rating, which I think is fine. That'd be so interesting how that goes, because, you know, Shigaraki would just, you know, destroy anything he touches. They'd probably go the anime route and not so much the manga route in terms of like super bloody, and more so just like the dusty. Toga, you can't escape censoring. Like, she just, you know, she stabs people, like that's violent. Dabi burns people, which that's, you know, artistically with what kind of art style they could choose, you can go any way with that, so that's perfectly fine. Still gruesome. It's a dream, but hopefully it becomes reality. Anyways, this is my first My Hero video, which I'm kind of shocked and surprised. I mean, there's only 2 chapters left of the manga. I just wanted to make at least a video while it was still relevant, and I think I have another idea of what could be the next one, which I think would be fun. But regardless, I hope you all have a good one. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Take care.